Hi, I'm Billy Puckett with Wood Houston Bank. Today I'm excited to introduce you to Brett Cheek. Brett moved to Cape in 2008 to join the staff at LaCroix Church. He speaks regularly to thousands of people, gives leadership to a complex multi-site organization, and has led efforts to develop strategic plans for staff health, organizational change, and community impact. However, Brett is more passionate about helping people develop in maturity, self-care, and wisdom.
So hey there, I'm glad to be able to be sharing with you today. My name's Brett Cheek, and I'm one of the pastors over at LaCroix Church in Cape Girardeau, which is a complex multi-site organization that I've been at since I moved here in 2008, which seems crazy it's been that long. And the Cape Chamber asked me to come share a little while back at a First Friday Coffee about taking care of your soul, your spiritual life, self-care. And then they asked me if I'd come share that same content here and maybe expand on it a little bit. So you may be wondering why they would ask someone like from a nonprofit, like a church, to come share at a young professionals event. And so I may be asking some of the same questions. So I hope that what I have to say is helpful for you. But being involved in professional leadership for about a decade and a half in our community, I've learned a couple of things. And one of those is that leadership is tough to manage. In my experience, one of the challenges with leadership is if there's you, is trying to navigate all of the different things that need your attention and energy and effort. Like there's your work, there's your finances, there's your relationships outside of work. I'm assuming you have those, you need to. Connections with community, friends, family. There's like taking care of your body. There's all of these different things that we're supposed to manage. And inside of our work, in our professional life, there's all of these different things also. There's how we manage staff, and there's strategy, and there's vision, and there's the incoming and outgoing money. There's all the things that we have to figure out how to give our attention to. And I find that there is so much good leadership training out there about how to figure out how to give what you have to all of the different things in your life that need you to give. How to not waste your energy, like how to not spill what you have to give. How to prioritize what goes first, what's second, what do you need to get rid of, what shouldn't even be on the table, and what do you need to add. And that all of this is important to try to figure out how do you give yourself to all of the different things, big and small, as a leader, as a professional, as someone in our community. And also in my experience, when you add the conversation of taking care of yourself, taking care of your soul, whatever you want to call it, one of the challenges that I deal with is great. One more thing to take care of, one more thing to try to figure out, how do I make time for that? How do I figure out how to do it right? What do I take from in order to give to that thing? And in some ways, if I'm not feeling great, it's like one more thing to suck at. Awesome. I'm already feeling insecure about everything else that I have to manage. How am I also going to make time for this whole self-care conversation, especially if you're younger? I'm assuming that may seem like it's a lower priority because you may have a little more energy. You've run into less ceilings in your life at this point. What I want to make the argument for, though, of why self-care, soul care is important is I don't think that caring for yourself or your soul is one more thing to take care of. I would say that your soul, is the thing that you give to everything else. And that means that the quality of your interior is affecting everything else because it's what you give to your employees, it's what you give to your customers, it's what you give to your family, it's how you show up when it's time to do the books and figure out your finances. And so I think that it's worth talking about because it's actually unavoidable. You have a quality to your soul, good, bad, funky, great, whatever. And however it is what you are currently giving to everything else. Now, all of that other leadership stuff about what are the right cups, how do you give, how do you not spill, how do you manage your time with those things, what should be on the table, what should be off the table, all important. But none of that will matter very much if what you are giving to all of those things isn't in good shape. When I was, a few years ago, woke up one morning and went into my daughter's room, I stepped on the carpet in her room and my foot squished. That's bad news. Apparently one of the condensate pipes in our AC system had backed up and had overflowed in her room, and we could immediately smell mildew. Now that's not good news for me because I can do a little bit of stuff around the house, but I am not that kind of dad. I am not that level of skilled. I don't have that set of tools. I don't know what to do. And so I had the very fun experience of going carpet shopping. Yeah, everyone's dream when they wake up, right? I'm going to go shop for carpet. And you have to pretend like you care. You know, you're standing at the carpet showcase and you're rubbing one shade of brownish gray and going, yeah, I like this one. And then you rub the other shade of brownish gray and you're like, yes, yeah, I really can tell the difference. You can't. It's carpet. Right? And you're trying to manage the fact that you're about to spend thousands of dollars. This isn't like the absolute end of the world, but you're about to spend thousands of dollars on something you weren't planning for and you don't care about just to get your house to not smell like a trash can. And so here we go. We're at the carpet place trying to figure out how to rip up what we have and get it gone. The man that was selling me carpet, I promise you, takes care of his soul. I don't know him, but I know how he treated me that day when I wasn't having an awesome day. He cared about me. He cared about my little problem going on in my life. He took time for me. That day, I was just one more cup that he had to pour into, right? I was one more thing that needed something from him. But amazingly, I walked out of his carpet room after writing him a check for $2,000 happier than when I walked in. That's not normal. And the reason why I believe is that he takes care of his soul. So he had something to give me that mattered. And if I ever have to buy carpet again, God help me, I'm going to go to him. Now, I might be able to get a better deal somewhere else, and I don't care. I don't care because of how he treated me and how he filled me up that day. Now, I think that you could make that argument that's even on the level of selfishness for taking care of your soul, because in a way it's good for business. People care how they're treated. But even more than that, I think that there's a better reason, and that's that leadership is hard. And there's a lot of lies, or at least very selective storytelling that gets told in the world of leadership. When people tell their own stories of success, they tend to leave out things like context or they got lucky, which happens sometimes. Sometimes you're in the right place at the right time. People love to tell the stories about how they busted their butt and they worked harder than everybody else, or they figured it out before everybody else. And I know that sometimes that's true. Most of the time, that work hard and that I figured it out is in combination with the right stuff happening at the right time. We are not as in control as we think we are. And the other thing is that leadership is difficult. And if you haven't hit a ceiling yet, the only thing you know to do is to work harder and to try to be smarter because of the stories that get passed around in leadership world. When I was in my early 30s, I had moved here and was having, I think what anybody would label success. My platform for what I do was growing. And I ended up in charge of a department. And then I ended up in charge of 2 departments. And then you're speaking regularly to thousands of people. You become maybe even a little bit of a local celebrity. And then you get this compliment of like people from other places want to pay you to come to where they are to tell you how to do what you do. And so you show up and just pretend like you know what you're talking about. And all of that was great, except for I was running low. I was in charge of more and more staff. I wasn't trained on how to lead staff. I was trained on how to do ministry. And staff problems in my departments were starting to grow. Some of that was my fault. Some of it wasn't, but it was reality. There were strategy challenges. There were vision challenges. There were resource challenges. And all the while, I felt the pressure to be great at all of it. And then there's home. I was a new dad. I married a wonderful mom, single mom. Inside of 13 months, our daughter was born. So I went from single to wife and 2 kids under 3 years old in 13 months. And while all of this platform is growing, and I'm trying to figure out how to pour myself out into all this stuff, not a small thing, my daughter isn't sleeping. And I know that doesn't sound like a crisis, but you go without consistent sleep for a few years in a row. It was hard. And I showed up at home one night after coming in from the road from being somewhere else doing some consulting work, went straight to work, worked a full day. I think I worked about 8 to 8 that day and went home and I crashed. And it wasn't like it wasn't good for a movie. It was the in a ball on your bedroom floor, ugly crying in your underwear kind of crash, where my wife is wondering, oh no, I think my husband's broken. And I had to reorganize my life because I had neglected, which is funny for a pastor to say, I had neglected to take care of my soul in all of the pouring out. I had never hit a ceiling before. I had only known to work harder and to be smarter. And it had worked for me up until that moment. And I had to make some changes. And some things that are said in my tradition are, what good is it to gain the whole world and to lose your soul? It's not worth it. And so I had to change some priorities in order for the quality of my own interior, my own soul, to be better. So just a couple of practices that I'd like to give you, whether you are in the for-profit world, the nonprofit world, whether you're just starting out, whether you're one of those entrepreneurs and you have like 7 different things spinning all at the same time, and that's super exciting for you. Here's the thing. You need to build some practices now that will maintain health in your life so that you don't end up crashing as hard as I did. 2 things in my life is I realized that I'm a whole person and that I have limits and that we receive limits as a gift, right? That's a gift to us that we have limits. All of the talk of, like life without limits, that's a bunch of crap. And it's bad. It's bad for us. We have limits and we can learn to love those. One of the ways that I've learned to love limits in my life is my family and I started practicing 1 day a week where we set aside work. In my tradition, it's called Sabbath. And so what we do is we gather the family together. We have a little ritual and we end up lighting an oil lamp in our home for 24 hours. And while that's lit, we can do 3 things. There's only 3 rules on Sabbath. 1 is we can rest. 2, we can worship. And 3, we can do things we love. Now, worship, I won't be getting into that here. I'd love to engage with you around that topic if you ever want to check out what I do at LaCroix Church. But rest, I had to learn the difference between rest and numbing. Rest is when you do something that actually replenishes you. Numbing is when we do something that just helps us avoid how we feel. So rest may be taking a nap. Numbing may be scrolling through Netflix endlessly looking for something to pick, and we can't pick something and we don't know why. Rest may be sitting down and listening to music we love. Numbing is me standing in front of my refrigerator, not even hungry, but I am going to eat something before I walk out of this kitchen. Numbing is scrolling through Facebook endlessly or Instagram, not even really receiving anything. Rest is taking time away to walk away better, and that takes some intentionality. And I've learned to love it more and more and more. I'm still not great at it, but I'm getting better. And things we love, we make a schedule with my family. I ask my kids, what do you want to do? What do you love? And my son will say, pillow fights. We're like, great, pillow fights tonight at 7 o'clock. It goes on the schedule. My wife says naps because naps are amazing, right? And they go on the schedule. Dad wants to go in the basement and turn up his guitar amp too loud and pretend like he's in Led Zeppelin. And I do that. And we take time to walk. We take time to play. I ignore my dog, the rest of my family loves my dog. I love my dog about 30% of the time, right? And my family plays with the dog and I, don't. And I have learned to set aside time for rest, worship, and things that I love. There's still times when I get low. There's still times when I feel like I'm running out of gas. But that is a consistent practice that is keeping me to honor the limits that I have in my life so that I can give quality things to all of the things in my life. The other is community. Being able to have people around you that know how to ask you more questions than did you watch the game last night? Or how are things going at work? That know how to ask you how you're doing and care about the answer. It's been said that being listened to is so close to being loved that most people can't even tell the difference. Do you have people that you listen to and that listen to you? Here's the deal. We can get the leadership stuff right, and we should. But if we take care of ourselves, even if we don't get all of this stuff right, how we pour, what we pour into, when we do it, do we waste energy? Do we make a mistake in a meeting? Do we make the wrong business decision? Even if we don't get all that stuff right, if we're taking care of ourselves, then whatever we give will be good. Whatever we give to the people that work for us, to the people that work with us, to the people that we spend our life with when we're not being a young professional, whatever, that will be good and it will be worth it. Because which would you rather have? All the leadership stuff figured out and filled with something that's not worth giving? Or maybe even missing some of that if you need to, but having a soul that is worth giving to the world as a gift. So I'd ask you to consider some of those concepts, some of those practices, and to let you know that what you do matters. So thank you for taking a little bit of time here today.
What questions do you have? Reach out and connect with Brett today. Can you believe tomorrow is Friday? Only one more day of our virtual Emerge Young Professional Summit. Tomorrow we'll learn how a positive attitude changed the life of our keynote speaker, who happens to be someone very special to us at Wood & Houston Bank, Susie Thompson. See you then.